Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast episode will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, please do not continue to watch or listen until you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast.
Today, we are covering Us. Before we go into the review, let's grab our cups and talk about tea.
We are twinsies again, and repeating the tea. It is the Harney & Sons Fine Teas, and it's the decaf hot cinnamon, and it has decaf black tea, orange peel, natural and artificial cinnamon flavors, cinnamon, cloves, and contains natural and artificial flavors.
Yay!
But punches you in the face with cinnamon and cloves, so please don't oversteep this one for once.
Yeah, like even when
normally
you
do. Don't do that on this.
even when you take it out when you should, it still punches you in the
It is
face.
strong.
But when you leave it in, then it's so bitter that it's barely
Don't do it.
edible. But
Don't do it.
But for our lovely tea sippers, brew yourself a cup of tea, sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy the review. So for the summary, this family goes on a vacation to an area where the mother had grown up before and had an incident. And she progressively gets more paranoid, and she's like, I feel like, something's coming for me. And they essentially meet their doppelgangers and come to find out doppelgangers of people all over the world, well, America specifically, are coming out and killing their upper level half, while the tethered are, come up and,
They're taking over.
Yeah.
They're making a statement.
Yes, that's for sure. So for entertainment, I have to compare this to Get Out,
Definitely.
the very first movie that Jordan Peele, or very first horror movie that Jordan Peele did. And I have to say, they have different feelings.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Get Out, the message is very clear.
Yes.
It pretty much beats you over the head, but in, like, a good way on, like, what the message is, while still, like, keeping the story entertaining.
It's extremely straightforward.
Yeah, it's straightforward. Well, this one, the meaning behind it is a lot more complicated. And you're like, once you figure out, like, one piece, it can be, like, there's, like, multiple meanings you can get from it.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of the meanings you get from it can branch from where you come from in life. But, so for this one, whenever it very first came out, I remember being so excited about it. And whenever I watched it, I will be honest and say I was a little bit disappointed.
I was initially disappointed, too. It's definitely better on another watch or two.
Yeah, like, since I've watched it a few times after that, I definitely enjoy it a lot more. But one might say it's right on the edge of not being my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So while I will watch it again, it's not going to be my go-to movie. So I would rate it a 7.25. But as far as the meaning in case, a few of the theories that I've heard that make it interesting is, one of the theories is the tethered is supposed to be like the people in poverty, while the people up above are like the rich, to where what the rich do directly impact the people in poverty, but what the people in poverty do doesn't necessarily impact the rich very much.
Well, there's also the fact that the tethered don't really have a choice.
Yeah, that's true. And then, like, with the government experimentation, we have the upper, I don't know, what would you call the people that aren't tethered? The untethered, I guess.
Exactly.
The normal people, I guess, they have no idea what happened.
Maybe the originals.
The originals, they are like living life as normal while the tethered are down below suffering, and it's from a history of the government doing experimentations. Multiple countries, honestly, but since they're talking about America, has a history, unfortunately, of doing unconsensual things to its citizens of certain classes or demographics.
Sad but true.
Like I said, there's multiple things you can get from it. Like, I know they even mentioned that the fact that they use a white rabbits tend to symbolize rebirth, though I don't really exactly remember what that is about. And then, or, like, the tethered can be, like, your darker half, while the originals is, like, the half that you present to other people. Like, there's so many meanings. But the different meanings aside, I feel like the characters in the movie are really interesting. You want to be on their side. You want them to make it through. Not so much after all of the tethered come out, but with with the first family and the second family, I feel like the tethered are, like, super creepy. The way that they, like, show them, like, their silhouettes in the dark and stuff like that. Like, could you imagine looking outside and just seeing a family standing there, like...
Whole bunch of nope.
Yeah, that would be absolutely terrifying. And then with the second family, how, like, the twin tether just, like, walk in there and just, like, start stabbing them.
Yes.
And then it's just, like, just so awful and scary. So this movie does a great job with having fleshed out, realistic feeling characters that you want to be on their side. Even the family that they're friends with, I don't necessarily root for them because they didn't seem like as...
They were horrible people.
Yeah, they didn't seem like that great of people, but they were human enough that it's not like I feel like they deserved what they got.
Yeah, that was a bit harsh.
But the last scene with Red and the doppelganger with the doing the dance fight,
That was awesome.
yeah, like this is a very, like, artful
Yes.
film, and I mean there's parts of the film that are way beyond my head, but
I love that you can get so many different meanings out of it, and you can see multiple meanings even, just yourself.
mm-hmm.
But just picking out the different things and the detail that they put in it, too.
Yeah, and I know even the scissors are supposed to mean something, but I don't remember.
Well, they called themselves the tethered, so
Yeah,
they have
holding the-
shears to cut the cord, basically.
Yeah.
Or cut ties with their other self.
Well, I know, but someone had done a commentary on, like, an alternative or an added meaning to the scissors, but I don't remember what that was. But the point is, like, at least wrapping up on my entertainment, like, even though it borders line not my type of movie, I can really appreciate the effort that was taken. I can appreciate the meaning. It's one of those super deep movies where I feel like I will never fully understand all of the different meanings to it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's one of those things where each person will get a different thing, and it's only, like, collectively as a group that you can understand, like, the full meaning of the movie. But yeah, I think it's a movie watching once, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I give it a 6.75. It's not my favorite of Jordan Peele's movies, but there's so much meat to the movie.
Yeah.
And again, there's so many different meanings that you can get out of it. Everybody can watch it and see something completely different. And I love that. And I was a little disappointed, I'll admit, when I first saw it, but I was also expecting it to be more of a scary movie and not quite as artful as it was.
Yeah, I was expecting, because I feel like Get Out, it's straightforward horror and straightforward messaging.
Yes.
Well, this one is, like, the horror is it is there, but it's not there through the whole movie necessarily. And then the message is a lot more like...
It's a lot deeper.
Yeah.
So it's harder to get more out of it on a first watch. And I really think the trailer did it a disservice, to be perfectly honest. Like, I had a different idea of it going in because of the trailer.
Yeah, it made it seem more of a horror movie.
Yes. Yes. So, I was expecting one thing and then got something completely different and was very confused by it. So, I think that's the reason why my initial feelings toward it were kind of But it does get better after a couple of watches as well. So, it's not going to be a go-to for me, but I do like the different symbolisms and deep meanings and things in it that you can pick out of it. So, personally, I saw it more as not so much on like a broad scale, but internal struggles. So like the darker half and the lighter half, and it reminded me of like the Native American folktale of, you know, the two different wolves inside everybody fighting, the light one and the dark one, and which one wins is the one you feed. And sometimes that isn't always the lighter half. Sometimes it's the darker half. So it was interesting to see the difference between the ones that were living above, the originals, and the tethered down below. And sometimes the ones living up above were very greedy and self-absorbed and awful, which kind of implies that the ones down below aren't necessarily like that, but they're still making a statement and still trying to take over. So, I really thought that was pretty cool. There was so much symbolism with doubles and pairs and things in the movie. I don't know how much you saw, but like the number 11 was everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. So many things in pairs, like Find Yourself, the place that she walked into with the Hall of Mirrors, and finding her double with all the mirrors around, and mentioning the Twin Towers even. Mm-hmm. But seeing the parents in the mirror when she's being taken to the counselor when she comes back. And then the spider next to the figure of the spider, which was awful, by the way. Didn't appreciate that. The ambulance was number 2.
Wow.
The dude holding the Jeremiah sign, that was 11:11, which I did look that up, that passage, and it was, "Therefore thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them."
Oh.
So that was some foreshadowing there, too.
Yeah, for real.
I had to pause it and look it up.
That's really cool.
But the fact that it was also 11:11, I'm like, oh, that coinky-dink.
Yeah, like, this is why I love Jordan Peele movies.
It's very deep, and there's so much detail to it.
Yeah. Just down to the smallest detail.
Yes, and I love the callback that they had to the original to have her whistle the itsy bitsy spider like she did in the mirror area. I like that the main family in the movie aren't all completely stupid. For the most part, there are some dumb moments, but for the most part, they're fairly smart in dealing with their tethered. Or their others, rather. Their doubles. Yes. I do have some questions with the realism and things, but we'll get to that. And I loved seeing that, and I didn't necessarily, I saw some of the 11s and symbolism and things on the first watch, and I thought that was kind of interesting, but you definitely notice it a lot more. It's a lot more prominent when you've seen it already and are looking for it in the next views. So, I love that little detail, and it's so subtle for most of them. So, bravo for putting that in. Thank you. But that's what I got for entertainment.
We gotta quit picking movies where the realism is so freaking
Why did we do this?
difficult.
Well, this one, I thought this one was requested, wasn't it? Maybe not.
Nope, it's because we watched Nope. And we wanted to...
And we had already done Get Out, yeah.
Uh-huh. We want to complete the Triforce. Until he comes out with another movie.
Give him a year.
Yeah, we want to catch up with his movies so that way as they come out, we can read them.
And we will. Every time he comes out with something, we'll be watching it for sure.
Yeah, like, all of his movies, even if it's not, like, the subject matter itself that the movie's about is something that you necessarily enjoy, you can always get something from his movies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, there's movies that we will watch and we're like, I can take it or leave it, but it's like, I always feel like I gain something from his movies. But anyways, it's like there were dumb moments and places, but most of the characters reacted were pretty smart. Like, one scene... Hopefully that didn't... Anyways, one scene that I appreciated was whenever the Tethered first come in the house and they're slowly splitting people up, and you can just tell the mother feels so helpless because she is trying to protect her children, but so she was forced to, like, tie or handcuff herself, but it's like one of those things where she's like, well, if I don't do this, I might be putting my kids into jeopardy, but if I handcuff myself, I can't get up and protect my kids.
Or myself.
Yeah. So I feel like that was a perfect scene on where, like, she knew that they were all in trouble, and she was just trying to do what she could to prolong the safety of her family for as long as possible.
Yes.
So it's like, scenes like that, I feel like were pretty realistic, because it's like, she couldn't really do anything that put her in a position that, like they were at a disadvantage.
Extremely.
And she was just doing what she could to hopefully give her kids a better fighting chance.
Yes.
Even if that meant putting herself in harm's way. But yeah, there are parts like whenever they're hitting the Tethered and they're not double tapping to make sure that they're down all the way.
Yeah. This movie and others, it drives me absolutely nuts when you don't follow through. Just follow up with it. At least check.
Yeah. At least just make sure.
I don't care that they look dead. Just make sure at that point.
Yeah. So, and then, like, the family dynamics and the dynamics with the other family that they're friends with and just other people in general. I'm kind of leaning towards a 4. Or a 3.5. Maybe a 3.5. Because it's like there are a few moments that you're like, okay, it feels like a movie's got a movie moment. But
a lot of it is movies got a movie.
But all of the other parts feel...
I got questions.
Feel pretty tangible.
Yes.
Well, and then the whole thing with the Tethered, though, like the doppelgangers, and then, like, how did they, like, clone them? And, like, how did they get the DNA from everybody in America if the Tethered were just, like, there to be on their own?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna bump it down. I'll give it a 3. I feel like a 3 is pretty generous. It's like, there's parts of it that are really realistic, and then other parts that you're like, it falls apart pretty quickly. Like, especially the whole, like, theory about the Tethered, and yeah. Anyways, that's all I got. I'll let you go on your rampage that I know you want to go on.
So I got big questions that really knocked at the realism scale, for sure. So I give it a 2.5. And even then, I'm kind of going back and forth. But I want to know if they're tethered and what happens to one happens to the other. Like she was describing the childbirth and everything and having to get together with the husband's double. Then
which
injuries,
would be awful.
Yeah, then logically speaking, injuries should happen to both too, and when one dies, the other should as well. Logically speaking.
That's true. Yeah, because that's the whole thing that is a little bit confusing, where it's like there's parts where they're obviously connected, like the kid near the end with the car,
exactly.
He's backing up, but it's like, then how come previous parts in the movie they're able to like act on their own?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It kind of falls apart there. Also, when you have kids, there was no guarantee that their cycles were linked up and the same. And also, with kids, it's kind of a genetic lottery. So, the fact that she had a boy and a girl that looked exactly the same as her doubles doesn't make that much sense, to be honest.
I also wonder, like, the other mom that got, she's from Handmaid's Tale, she was saying that she got plastic surgery. I'm like, that makes me wonder, well, how do surgeries work with the tethered?
Yeah.
Like, are the tethered doctors literally performing surgery on the other people? But then
Not necessarily, because she said she had to cut out her own kid herself when the other one had a C-section.
See, but that also doesn't make sense, because if the doctors also have tethered, then they would be doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of those things.
There's so many things that once you start pulling at a thread, it just completely unravels.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those like more artful films where it's more the message than the story. Yes. The story falls apart pretty quickly.
A little bit. Also, with the nutrition.
Yeah.
They had bunny to eat. Fresh, live bunny to eat. So they weren't getting actual nutritional food.
Which, if they were abandoned, I mean, I know rabbits reproduce a lot, but enough to feed the entirety of America?
No. Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
And how could so many people fit underground like that? Like,
well, they said that there were miles upon miles upon miles of tunnels under the U.S.
And I guess, like, with its...
And cave systems and things.
I guess America is pretty spread out. Like, there's quite a bit of America that doesn't actually have people living.
Yes.
Okay, so that would make sense. They're just compressed.
Yes. But at the same time, back to the nutrition, that's not going to get them near enough of what they need to maintain their weight and their strength and everything. They're going to be seriously malnourished. They're going to be seriously vitamin deficient.
Yeah.
They're not outside, so they're not getting near enough vitamin D, and clearly they're not getting shots or anything, so they're not getting health care that they need to maintain how they should be.
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like the tethered would get diseases and die off, and then the original would just keep on living the rest of their lives.
Yes. I'm also wondering, how in the ever-living hell do you miss with a flare gun from 3 freaking feet? That scene made me so mad. So mad. And just completely took me out of the movie setting. Because how do you miss that bad? No. Not from 3 feet. No. But I do love the other details and the fact that they are smart for the most part in fighting and trying to figure out what's going on and how to get away. I also love, you can tell the difference, especially in the two beings, with the main character. I loved it. The fact that the one that was taken underground and was down there for the majority of her life, when she had that moment with dancing, it clearly changed her enough that then her movements were very precise. And it was almost like she was dancing for most of the movie after that. Mm-hmm. So I loved that small little detail, and amazing job for the actress. Thank you so much for that. The other was a bit more free and organic with her movements, but Red she was awesome. And I loved seeing them in that battle at the end, the difference between the two. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, they look like each other and they have parts that are similar, but they're really quite different at the same time.
Yes. So, that's mostly what I had. It was just the big things there. And why police and military and all weren't shooting the people in red on site at that point, because clearly they were murdering and causing mayhem.
Yeah, like the authorities, maybe it's because a lot of them were taken by surprise by their own tethered, but the authorities kind of did a shit job trying to attempt to at least contain the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But, like, with the... I don't know, I kind of gathered that society was kind of collapsing around them at the same time. Yeah. But
it just seemed off enough that, again, it took me out of the movie setting a little bit. So. Yep.
Yeah, it's like overall...
It is definitely more of an artful film
than
logic.
It's difficult, because it's like, comparing Get Out and Us, I like Get Out more, but I can appreciate the artfulness of Us as well.
I'm the same. I feel like Get Out was stronger, but it was also more of a straightforward, solid message.
Yeah.
This one was a bit more fluid.
Yeah. And plus, like, there were some parts, like with Get Out, it was a mixture of, like, comedy and horror. But, I mean, definitely more heavily horror, but they had some moments that were funny.
Yeah.
Well, this one definitely seemed to lean more on the horror serious side, but there were some parts that were hard for me to take seriously, like with Red talking and her like having trouble. It's like, now that I think about it, I think it makes sense with her like being choked before, but the voice wasn't scary to me. If anything, it kind of like took me out and didn't. I don't know.
It wasn't. I don't think it was meant to be scary. I think it was meant to be unsettling. But it made sense, at least to me, that not only was she choked, but she was down underground with only live rabbit to eat, and no sunlight, no other nutrition or anything. So she was just.
Yeah. It was a good way to demonstrate that the tethered were not well.
Well, that, and also with the untethered not speaking ever, she didn't really have anyone to talk to.
Yeah.
She had to communicate with them a different way. That's why she used dance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she was able to show them pictures and things to put in the idea in their head, and she said it took a long time to organize all of it. Yeah. But she finally got the message across, and she wanted to have them bring her message up top. So that part made sense to me. And the fact that since it was actually her tethered the whole time as the main character for real, then when she came back and her parents just thought she was traumatized when she wasn't speaking, it's because she couldn't speak because she was the tethered. But she started getting that better nutrition, she started getting that better interaction, and she was finally able to talk after a while.
Yeah. And I know this episode comes out after our Nope episode, so also referring to Nope, I feel like this movie is a transition from Get Out to Nope, because it's like Nope is one of those that also has, I feel like, the multiple meanings, maybe slightly more straightforward than Us, but Nope is definitely like more lighthearted on the
I felt like that
side.
one was far more comedy.
Yeah.
And this one was just straight up dark.
Yeah, like really the creepiest part in Nope is like the beginning part with the dad. And then the alien scene that ended up not being...
Yeah, that ended up being more funny than anything. But, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so... But anyways...
Sorry, just that little scream from the motorcycle, too.
Oh man, I was thinking about that earlier, and how like you just had to stop the movie and rewind it right then to rewatch it.
I had to.
Several times, might I add.
I'm not sorry.
But anyways, thank you so much for joining us today, and we would love to hear your comments on your take of this movie, whether it be for us or for Nope or Jordan Peele's movies in general. I feel like most people have a positive experience with his movies. But either way, we would love to hear what you gather from them. But
I'm looking forward to what he comes out with next.
Yes. But if you'd like to recommend a movie, game, or tea and keep up to date with their content, you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Discord, and most places you listen to podcasts.
And if you'd like to support the podcast, please subscribe, like, and share our content. If you'd like to support us monetarily, we have our PayPal donate button and our lovely Teespring with these wonderful mugs and clothing and wall art and spoon stuff available. All of the sites mentioned will be linked down below. And until the next time, guys, stay safe and stay spoopy.
Bye!
Bye.